he desired to absorb as much as he can of the great prophetic abilities of Eliyahu, and he wanted even more. He merited to see the ascent of Eliyahu to heaven. And now we see his first meeting with members of the town of Yericho, and he seems to be in a position of the opposite of what Eliyahu stands for, where Eliyahu was the man of zealousy, a man of judgment. Here we see Elisha healing the waters, preventing further death in the town of those in the Yericho area, and the waters are corrected or healed. What do we notice? That from Yericho, he goes up to Beit El. Why Beit El? Pasuk 23, Vayal Misham Beit El. Interesting that he's going there alone. He's not escorted, it's just him going up. V'oleh baderech. He's on the journey. There's a road that connects Jericho to Beit El. It's almost on the same north-south axis. Okay, Beit El. What's that name of that town, that little town there? Givat Asaf. And then you go down to the Jericho Valley. There's a road there today, next to the Arab village called Taiba. And V'oleh baderech, he's climbing. And who does he meet up with in Beit El? Ne'arim ktanim. Notice, here they're called young lads. Later we'll see they're called even less than that. Yatzu min, they depart from the city. Maybe it's coming to into that they're departing from what the people think in the city as well. Vayitkalsuva. Hard word to understand, but they're insulting him. Why are they insulting him? Why record this?
Insulting
Elisha? Vayomru lo, and they say to him, about him, and apparently he was baldy, Alei kereach, Alei kereach. Meaning, get the heck out of here, you baldy. And they repeat themselves. Terrible. Where were they schooled? In Beit El or Shiloh? I don't know. We don't know where they were schooled. Before we see the reaction, this is not just a random episode that's happening to Elisha, but we'll get. In other words, what's happening here is there are people that are complaining about the leadership, the prophetic leadership of Elisha, and they're saying you're kireach, you're bald. When they say that you're baldy, they often mean that you don't have the qualities, the talents that your teacher had, Eliyahu Navi. Okay, if you were a correspondent for the Rutz Meir News, so what would you probably say that, give the guy a chance, You're walking into, what is it called, big boots? The big boots of Eliyahu. But Aleph, it's children. It says Ne'arim, young teenagers, let's say Ne'arim Ktanim. And it's interesting. This is happening after the event of Yericho. Eliyahu, they were used to Eliyahu bang, 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 bang. The acts of judgment, the acts of sharpness. And they're saying you're not like Eliyahu. It's interesting that we're going to see a reaction by Elisha, which is very much in tune with the ways, the character traits, the style of Eliyahu Navi. And what does it mean? Why are they acting this way? So first of all, we have to be aided here by what Chazal say. Regarding the young lads, why they called Ne'arim Ktanim, Rashi brings the name of our sages that they are Menu'arim min mitzvot. They're shaked loose. They're free of mitzvot. In other words, we're talking about a group of young rebels, Kaifrim, that are denying a type of Kofrim, children that are not part of Torah mitzvot. Maybe the word Ketanim, the Radak says, they're Katnei Emunah, they're very small in their faculties of faith. They don't see beyond today in an hour from now. And that's the way they're acting. And this is it. These kids from Beit El are mocking, despising Elisha.
This also happened with previous kings and leaders.
Kings is something political. Here we're talking about a messenger of God, the leader, the spiritual leader.
Also happened with Moshe.
Okay, yeah, Moshe was a prophet. So we're talking, you're right, there were times that the prophets were not accepted. That's what's happening here. Now, the fact that they call him Kereach, baldy, is, so what? I'm bald. You don't see Yudah calling me bad names, right? There you go. He practiced this in advance just to make you laugh. So what kind of despicable name is baldy? Will bring the famous phenomenon that's so widespread and found amongst a lot of people. Okay? It's not necessarily considered some sort of blemish or defect as related to ethics and morals. The Gemara in Masechet Bechorot teaches us that Karachat Bechlal, someone who's baldy, is not at all considered a despicable name. Ben Azai, one of the great scholars, the Tanakh scholar, says, all the scholars of Israel, to me, are just like the shell of the garlic. They're what is the density and the weight of the shell of the garlic? It's paper thin. It just blows in the wind, right? Okay, except for that baldy guy. Who's he talking about? Rabbi Akiva. He's talking about Rabbi Akiva. The son of Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Yoshua. What was he called in the Talmud? Rabbi Yoshua ben Korcha. Rabbi Yoshua, the son of the baldy. So it's on the contrary. It's considered a very respectable name. So we're talking about a group of people, youngsters, that are despicable. Yet, will it warrant the reply, the reaction of Elisha? Look what it says. Vayifen acharav vayir'eim. It's a weird, quite unusual statement. He turns after them and he sees them. Why do we need to say vayir'eim when he sees them? Question 2, vayikaleleim b'shem Hashem. Why is he cursing them? Just because they called him baldy? Or you're not like Eliyahu? And then, number 3, which we'll have to address, Vateitzena, all of a sudden, I'm adding the word all of a sudden, doesn't state that. Shtaim dubim min haya'ar. 2 bears come out of the desert, the forest. Vatevakana mehem. They apparently go ahead and split these kids, they hit them, they kill them. Arba'im ushnei yeladim. Wow. What's going on? 42, and here they're called yeladim. Why is the Tanakh changing? Because a moment ago, what were they called? Ne'arim ktanim. Okay, in the midst of Pasuk of Gimel 23. So, I heard both from Rav Eli Mali, Rosh Yeshiva of Yafo, and also from the Yeshiva in the Golan. It's clear that we're in a time, in a period, where the nation is beginning to see and meet who is Elisha, as opposed to the great leader Eliyahu Navi. Yericho, Elisha was tested. He heals the waters. He does chesed. Okay? Now he hears by people, this criticism, you're not like your teacher. You are kireach. Okay? And now, what does he try to do? It seems that he's trying to act like his teacher, Eliyahu. Din, judgment. We all know what is the law for not listening to a prophet. As the Torah says in the book of Bereshit, Anochi edrosh me'imo. I will take care of him. Mitabidei shamayim. If anyone doesn't listen to what the prophet says, he's worthy of death from heaven. But here, maybe Elisha's trying to give it a try. You know what? I want to be like Eliyahu, my teacher, so much. I'm going to take something out of the book of Eliyahu and provide din. The gentleman sitting next to me will tell you that in the Beitel area, there are no forests. And in the Beitel area, there are no bears either. No, not the Chicago Bears.
I'm trying to think if there's anything.
So what does it seem like?
Sdom and Gomorrah was a forest. Maybe perhaps all of the valley there was.
Yeah, maybe in the valley, but in the mountain area of Beit El, we don't know. No forest and no bears.
Not a natural phenomenon.
So maybe something metaphysical happens, and a forest is created, and bears just come out of there, wow, and attack these kids. Now, the fact that he saw them, what does it mean he saw them? So Chazal say, and Rashi does bring it, he saw that no one very righteous is going to come out of them. He saw into the future. Ra'a she'ein bem velo bizaram lachluchit shel tova. Wow. Not even a drop of goodness. Their grandchildren, great-grandchildren, maybe that's what he saw. For that he justified his action. I'm going to add judgment to do this right here.
Well, okay. So if he cursed them, I mean, was that his curse that they should die?
Yeah, without a doubt. Meaning the curse they're going to die, and God provided. God went with him. He allowed what? Or maybe he asked for it. But it says he looked and he searched. He looked to see is anything good coming out of them. And we don't see anything good. Now, everyone is asking, just because they called you, what? Kereach, baldy, for that you're going to ask for their death?
It's also a question how they called him.
They called him. Alei Kereach, get out of here. Alei Kereach. You don't deserve to be here. You know, you're not like your teacher. So the truth is, on the one hand, he searched to see if anyone good is coming out. He sees that there are no good kids. They're minu'ar min ha-mitzvot. Yet the Tanakh uses that 42 children died. It opened up with ne'arim, youngsters, young teenagers. And here we're talking about children. From here, Chazal understood that there is bikoret. God is criticizing the act of Elisha. And later in the Tanakh we see that he's going to be punished for this, that he caused the death of these children 3 times. Chazal point out, do we see illnesses in regarding Elisha. Once after this event, after he caused the death of these children, once after he pushes Gechazi with his 2 hands, and the other time illness comes to him when he's about to die. So there is indeed criticism. It could be that he so much wants to act like Eliyahu that he uses judgment very fast, maybe too fast. But in any event, judgment is done here. Something out of the book of Eliyahu, all of a sudden the forest appears, Dubim appears, something very metaphysical that we usually do not see. So this is Midat Adin, the attribute of judgment that's devouring this matter. So interesting. Yericho, and now Beit El. Why do you think that he's visiting these 2 places? Aren't these places the same places that the last stops made by Eliyahu Navi? Remember? Beit El Yericho and the Jordan River. So why do you think Elisha is doing this?
Exactly what you just
He
said.
wants to be like his Rebbe. He wants to go and stop at the same places Eliyahu was at. So you see that he's making efforts to be similar to Eliyahu by visiting these places. Okay? Let's start Perek Gimel. Perek Gimel, before Perek Gimel, the last pasuk, Vayelech Misham, where? El Hara Carmel. Umisham Shav B'Shomron. Wow.
Up and down.
The Carmel, he's going up north from Beitel.
That's where Eliyahu was also.
Okay. Let's just put on Waze and see how we traveled. From Beitel, let's learn something topographical here. From Beitel to Eli, to your house. From Eli to Shechem. And then apparently he took a left turn, went westbound, and went down to the lowland area. Or do we say went all the way down to the end of the Shomron? And from the Shomron, he took a westerly one. He goes up to Mount Carmel. Interesting. What do you think he can do on top of Mount Carmel?
Go for sacrifice.
Well, we have a Beit HaMikdash.
You can't do it. It was a one-time thing.
We don't see any episode here in Har Carmel. But what can he benefit from standing on top of the mountain of Carmel?
Being there.
Can be there, be in a high place. He can contemplate. He can introspect. He can think about his actions and think about Am Yisrael. Okay? Rav Mali says that going to Har Carmel with the ability to contemplate about what is my style, what is my way, my spiritual, my ethical way of life leading the Jewish people, how can I perhaps continue the derech of my rabbi, my teacher, Eliyahu and Navi. So he goes to the Carmel, he does what he does there, and then it says, Shav Umisham, Shav Shomron. Who was in the Shomron? Eliyahu Navi was in the Shomron. He was hardly ever, do we see, or maybe not at all, in the Judean area. In retrospect to Achav, like you mentioned. Achav is the king of the Ephraim kingdom, the Shomron kingdom. So it's clear to us that the places Elisha visits, and we'll re-enumerate them, the Jericho area, Yericho, Beit El, from Beit El to the Carmel to the Shomron, he's now copying, he's absorbing the places that his teacher was there, and he wants to make an impression. A spiritual impression is maybe looking, what is my derech? Is my derech exactly the same derech as my teacher, or am I different? Okay.
The resident Am Yisrael, in other words, Yehuda, know about him in the same way as they...
No, just it'll be very similar that he's going to be very special to the Shomron. Ken? Very special to the Shomron. Ken. Let's go on now to the new chapter, Perek Gimel. I want to say one more point that I read by Rav Yigal Ariel. They looked at the mistake of the people, the youngsters here in Beitel, was that they compared Elisha. We don't compare. Don't compare your wife to his wife. Don't compare your abilities. Everyone is different. Everyone has his own matters. Okay? Do you remember what's stated about Eliyahu? We saw it in the chapter before he was taken away. People didn't know what he looked like. How did they describe him? And I didn't explain it then, I'm sure. I made a mistake. Baal Se'ar. Now the simple meaning is hairy. But what did we not say? And Chazal say that he was a Nazir. Nazir. Very good.
Why they say he was lifted to Shemaim by his tzitzi?
I don't know. Eliyahu Hanavi apparently was a Nazir. We hear nothing about a wife. We hear nothing about children, as if Eliyahu was distant from the order of and the realm of our physical life. Ken, Eliyahu Navi was parush. He was set aside, Nazir. The order of the world was not applicable to him. He was like almost above time. He remains above time. No house, no wife. Ken, and Eliyahu, and therefore, that's how Eliyahu was known. So here the youngsters in Beit El, they call Elisha, you're bold. You don't have the character traits of what? Of your teacher. Okay? So there's a midrash that says instead of expressing sorrow for the loss of Eliyahu Navi, they're coming here to degrade the greatness of Elisha, maybe minimize the spiritual influence that he has on others. In any event, that's some background regarding the people here in Beit El. But as we said, whoever's going to be belittling a prophet, that's bad news. You mentioned that people didn't accept Moshe Rabbeinu. We'll get to the case of Korach and his company. Okay? What happened immediately when they went up against Moshe Rabbeinu? The earth split. Okay? And the earth opened up and split and swallowed them.
That was God. That was not.
That was God doing it. That's mitabidei shamayim.
Right.
So too, by Eliah, when the ministers of 50 started giving, get down here right now, the king wants to see you. What happened to those 50 ministers time after time? They were killed instantly. So here we see that many times when belittling the abilities of the prophet, it's a terrible thing. It doesn't happen once, it doesn't happen twice. Interesting, it says regarding the two bears, it says Shtayim Dubim. Shtayim Dubim. Why didn't it say Shnayim Dubim? So there are those that explain that they were female bears. Okay? Look, I want to send a veterinarian report against those bears. Why are they leaving the forest and killing children? They should be taking care of their cubs. There you go, the Chicago Cubs again. Okay? They should be taking care of their cubs. So why aren't they taking care of the cubs? Shkulotayu. They were bereaved. They were bereaved. That's right. How is this related to the story?
You could say that the prophet was like a cub of Hashem. Hashem was taking care of it. He was taking care of the prophet through this method.
Okay. I don't know. I don't really see what is the relationship. The bears are bereaved, have no children, and now they're eating up and killing these kids. What?
Jealous.
Have an idea of a similarity? The bears, they're female bears. Why are they not taking care of the cubs? They have no cubs. Why? They died. They are shekulot, they're bereaved bears.
Maybe the kids killed them.
Maybe the kids killed the bears, maybe. Midah keneged midah, could be.
They're bad kids.
Okay, let's now go to, that's it. Let's now go to Perek Gimel. V'yoram ben Achav, remember? The brother of the former king, Achav's son, Achaziel, he died, remember? He was a really bad guy. His brother took over. Instead of a son taking over, the brother took over. Let's read. V'yoram ben Achav, Malach Yisrael b'Shomron, b'shmat Shmoneh Esrei, le'Yoshafat melech Yehuda. He starts while Yoshafat is reigning in his 18th year. Vayimloch Shteim Esrei Shana. What will be unique about Yehoram? We're going to learn that although he's wicked, he does do some good things from a moral conduct. Vayaseh ra b'nei Adonai, rak lo che'aviv uchi imo. Vayasar et matzvat ha'Baal asher asa aviv. Although he's wicked, the good thing that he does, he could be the number one, the first of all the kingdoms of northern kings, the Ephraim kingdom, that he's going up a war against idolatry. Okay, Matzevat Baal. The Baal is the Canaanite idolatry that's been there for hundreds and hundreds of years, and he's the first king in the Shomron to combat this, which is great. However, what not? Pasuk Gimel, verse 3. Rak bechatot Yerovam ben Nevat asher achtit Yisrael davek lo sar mimenu. Rashi explains politically, if they don't continue to allow some of the things that Yerovam allowed to be done, then they're going to lose their kingdom. So some of the sins of Yerovam, remember he built 2 centers, 2 shrines, one in Dan, one in Beit El, to start serving God, but it went out of hand, of course. So the sins there, it doesn't prevent that sinning. So here we see, though, Rashi says, from a political reason. And we're going to get to that. We're going to see similar verses in Divrei Yamim and so on and so forth. Now, while he's king, take a guess what happens. There's a possible war on the other side of the Jordan River. Pasuk Dalet, verse 4. Umeisha melech Moav haya noked. Noked meaning what? He had a lot of cattle and sheep, okay? And he would often pay with tons of sheep as a price, a tax, to pay to the kingdom of Israel. Umeisha melech Moav haya noked. Ve'shiv lemelech Yisrael, he was regularly giving how much a year? 100,000 karim. That's 100,000 fattened sheep. 100,000 elim tzamer. And older sheep, another 100,000. Wow, what a tax. Huh? 200,000 would be paid as taxes to the kingdom. What happened though? 12 years ago, when the father died, we read about this. Looks like history is repeating itself. The king of Moab rebels by not paying taxes. From the time of David HaMelech until now, we're ruling over the area of Moab. Remember, across the Jordan River, we go straight, Duch, we get to the Moabite mountains, and it spreads out going further south on the other side of the Dead Sea, in fact. And here, this is an act of war. If you don't pay taxes, it's considered an act of war. What do you think Yoram wants to do? He wants to do what his brother wanted to do and what Achav wanted to do. Do you remember what Achav wanted to do when he go to war? Who was visiting Achav at the same time this happened? Yoshaphat. Family, Mechutanim. And what did Yoshaphat say? My horses are your horses. My army is your army. Whatever you want. And here we see for the first time unity between the kingdom of Judah and the kingdom of Israel. But what happens? Yoshua says, under one condition. I want a prophet here on the place, on the site. I want to take advice with him. I want to see if what we're doing is the right thing to do. Should we go to war or not? And says, I have plenty of prophets. He brings 400 prophets, all bunch of liars. No. I want the real McCoy. I mean the real prophet. So the real prophet comes and they go to war. What happens to Achav? Terrible tragedy. Achav loses his life in the war. And Yoshaphat almost gets killed. Why? The enemy thought that he is the king because he's still dressed up in what? In royal clothing. And by the life of him, he prays at the last second to Hashem. And God spares his life. So it seems that trial number 1 to go to war against Moab was a terrible, terrible farce. A terrible mistake. Will they repeat that mistake? Pasuk Vav, verse 6. Vayetze HaMelech Yoram bayom hahu mishomron vayifkod et kol Yisrael. It seems he's getting ready to war. It can't be they're not going to pay up hundreds of thousands of sheep. You know what that means? You know how much food that could be for civil servants? You know how much skins that could be for making winter coats in the Shomron? Do you know what the weather is in the Shomron in the winter? It's cold. Cold weather. We need good winter coats. So here he is. He starts making a mifkad. let's just say that he goes halachically according to the rules.
What's a mifkad?
A mifkad is accounting. It's making a consensus. He went to organize his army. How many people do we have? How many divisions can I create? How many battalions? And so on and so forth. And he counts Israel. I don't think it means he counts Israel in the Judean area, but he counts them in his area. Okay? Pasuk Zayin, the mail is sent to the opposing king in Judah. Vayelech vayishlach el Yoshafat melech Yehuda lemor. Melech Moab pashabi. He rebelled against me. Hatelech iti al Moab lamilchama. Are you willing to join me and go to the war? Okay? Here it is. An attempt to unite Israel again under one entity against the common enemy.
Yeah, it's interesting because in our wars here, usually Israel is united.
That's right.
So it's like the same
Here we
thing.
saw the same thing as happened years ago during the time of Achaziah. What does he say? Listen to the answer, almost verbatim, the same words. Vayomer, Ken Yoshafat is a big tzaddik. Ela, I'm coming up. Kamoni kamocha, kamicha mecha kisusai kisusecha. Almost the same words he said years ago when he joined Achav in the war against Moab as well.
He doesn't ask for half of the booty.
Yes, that's correct. Now, that it's repeating. I'm asking, what's going on here? Yoshafat was righteous, close to God. Doesn't he understand what happened the last time? He almost lost his life. Why does he want to get involved? That's a good question that we're asking. Okay? Why is he getting involved? Is there a religious reason, a spiritual reason? Is there a political reason? And this we'll try to answer in our next year.